Okay, so it looks to me like you're dealing with the second derivative test. I mean, I chose to do this with the first derivative test, but you certainly did it. So you found your critical values of your first derivative, nice, and then you substituted it into the second derivative, and you saw it was positive, which means it's concave up, and then you found a value. And you're right, it is a minimum of -4 at negative root 2. That also happens at positive root 2. I guess I could go look at your my open math, or my MyLab exercises and see that you did that right. But the same thing is true at positive root 2. And just to consider this, I'm not saying that this is any better than what you did. Actually, it looks like a lot more work than what you did. But what you can do with the first derivative test is, and you're going to see me do this all the time with my work. I'll draw a number line, I'll mark in my critical values for the first derivative. I also do it for the second derivative too, but that's a different test. And then I'll pick values either side of those zeros. And I just wrote these down. I never write these down. I usually sometimes I'll make mistakes when I don't write them down. But I'm just substituting in -2. I should have written here, I see an error in my writing. I should have written F prime. These should be all derivatives. I'm evaluating the first derivative at those values. And it's negative, left of negative root 2. It's positive between negative root 2 and 0, and you can see what I wrote. So that tells me it's the function decreasing from negative infinity to negative root 2. Then it changes to an increasing function. So that means it's a minimum. You can talk about changing signs too. That works also. So I know that's a minimum. And I see the same thing happens at positive root 2. And because it's changing from an increasing function to a decreasing function to 0, I know that's going to be a maximum. And then I find those values. You'll see the next slide. It looks just like what you did. I mean, you evaluated, you found that they both equal to -4, and you found that when f of 0 is 0, so there's that. It looks like you're getting hung up with finding the inflection points. Okay, so let me continue here and see what I can add. Since I created this slide, I did this work, I thought, I agree with you. I would agree with you that those are when the minimums happen and the maximum happen. So we knew that. So then to find points of inflection, right, we take a look at the second derivative, and we find the critical values there. And of course, there's just 0. Being a polynomial, we know it's we know there's no undefined places, just where it's equal to 0. So I did that, and then I rationalized this just in case you're a little rusty with the rationalization. The square root of 2 is square root of 2/3 is the same as square root of 2 over the square root of 3, and to rationalize it, we got to multiply make the denominator so it's not a radical. So that's where I'm getting the square root of 6 over 3 from. And then I substituted in here's my number line. See, that's that same number line. And then I substituted in values that are either side of those zeros, and I saw there's concavity change. It's concave up left of that, concave down in between those two values, concave up to the right of that. So those are the places where the function changes concavity, so I know those x values are where it's equal to 0. Now you got to evaluate that miserable radical, and I think you can do this. So I went back and found, let's see, what was it? It was x to the 4th, so the negative square root of 2/3 to the 4th minus, what is it? Where's my work? Oh, minus 4 times the square root of 2/3. We'll cheat and make that squared. So this becomes 2/3 times 2/3, right? Which is 4/9, and then that becomes 4 times 2/3, which is 8/3. Made common denominators, got -20 over 9, and then it's same thing. And because this is an even function, right? It's x to the 4th minus 4x squared. That's an even function, so I know I'm going to get the exact same values when I substitute in negative and positive root 6 over 3. So those are the 2 points of inflection. And then I had to check it, you know, I had to check it. I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. So here's the graph of the original function, and I can see, and just because I've worked with this so many times, I know square root of 2 is 1.414, and same thing with negative square root of 2. Now that's that, and then of course 0, 0. So we've got the maximum minimums right. Now, the question in my math lab that asks, what is the absolute minimums, absolute maximums? Well, I went back. I did all that analysis of whether they were minimums and maximums. That I couldn't. Those were only for locals. So what I do when I'm asked this kind of thing, I know x to the fourth, or I know this function has an ending behavior like x to the fourth, right? So the limit as x goes out to negative infinity, this function is really just going to act like x to the fourth, right? And as x goes out to as x goes out to positive infinity, again, it just acts like x to the fourth. So this function will not turn around and come back down. It's not a closed interval either. It's an open interval. So there are no absolute maximums here. But there are some absolute minimums because there's these turning points. And I know the function behaves like this out at infinity. And I know, being a fourth degree equation, that at some point it's going to have a couple of turning points here, and it's not going to go any lower than that. And since these are already the two that I found, I know these are the only minimums. So the absolute minimum is going to be a y equals negative 4. And there's no absolute max. Okay, hopefully this helps.